the emotional English story that will stay with you forever. Hey everyone, welcome back to Speak in English. I have a story for you today that is going to stay with you forever. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. This story is going to make you feel things, and it will leave an imprint on your heart. You know, there's a quote by the famous author Haruki Murakami that goes, "If you remember me, then I don't care if everyone else forgets." And this story? It's about remembering. It's about how certain moments, certain people, and certain choices in life stay with us long after they've passed. So, grab a seat, take a deep breath, and get ready for an emotional ride. By the end of this video, I promise, you'll be seeing life a little differently. Ready? Let's dive in. Our story takes place in a small village in the English countryside, not unlike the one you might imagine in a classic novel. It's a peaceful place where everyone knows each other and life moves at a steady, predictable pace. In this village, there lived a woman named Evelyn. Evelyn was an elderly woman in her late 70s, with silver hair and glasses perched on the end of her nose. She lived alone in a small, charming cottage at the edge of the village, surrounded by a garden she tended to with great care. Her life had been simple, but it had been filled with love. Love for her husband, love for her children, and love for the people in her community. She had always believed that the true richness of life was found in these small, everyday moments. But what made Evelyn's life especially poignant was a secret she carried with her. A secret tied to a moment in her past that had shaped everything she had become. Many years ago, Evelyn was married to a man named Arthur. He was the love of her life. They had met in their 20s, and from the moment they met, it was clear they were meant to be together. Arthur was a gentle man with a big heart, and he loved Evelyn with everything he had. Together, they had raised a family, built a life, and shared dreams of growing old together. But life, as it often does, had other plans. One fateful winter, when Evelyn was in her early 40s, Arthur fell ill. It started with a cough that wouldn't go away, but soon turned into something much more serious. After months of doctor's visits, Evelyn received the devastating news. Arthur had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. There was nothing they could do. Evelyn recalls that day as one of the most heartbreaking moments of her life. She was with Arthur when he passed away, holding his hand, whispering words of love, and wishing him peace. That moment marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, one she had never expected. As C.S. Lewis once said, "The pain of the past is the price we pay for the love we have known." And for Evelyn, that pain was immense. After Arthur passed away, Evelyn found herself lost in grief. But through the heartache, there was one thing she clung to. A promise. A promise she made to Arthur on his deathbed. "Promise me," he had said, "that you'll live your life fully, that you won't let my absence hold you back. Promise me, Evelyn, that you'll find joy again." Evelyn, through her tears, had promised him. But in the years that followed, it wasn't always easy to keep that promise. She carried Arthur's memory everywhere she went, and although she continued living her life in the village, something was always missing. The joy Arthur had asked her to find felt distant, like an unreachable dream. But one thing was certain: Evelyn had never forgotten Arthur's words. And so, she continued to live, not for herself, but for the promise she had made. Little did she know, the key to truly fulfilling that promise was about to come in the form of a letter. One morning, years after Arthur's passing, Evelyn received a letter. It wasn't from anyone she knew. The envelope was old, yellowed with time, and the handwriting was unfamiliar. But as soon as she opened it, her heart skipped a beat. The letter was from Arthur's brother, Richard, whom Evelyn hadn't seen in many years. Richard had always been a quiet man, a bit of a loner, but he and Arthur had shared a bond that no one could break. The letter contained something that Evelyn had never expected. Richard had found a box of letters and photographs from Arthur's youth, letters he had written to Evelyn, but never sent. In these letters, Arthur had poured out his heart. He had written about his dreams, his hopes for their future, and his deep, unwavering love for her. These letters, never meant to be seen, were a window into Arthur's soul. And as Evelyn read them, she realized something profound. Arthur had always known the depth of her love, and he had never wanted her to feel alone. He had believed, all along, that she would find happiness again, not by holding on to the past, but by embracing the future. As Evelyn read each letter, something inside her began to shift. She realized that Arthur's love for her had never truly left. It had simply transformed into something she had to learn to carry with her. She understood now that the promise she had made to him wasn't just about surviving after his death. It was about living fully, with joy, with passion, and with an open heart. Steve Jobs once said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do." Evelyn hadn't realized it, but she had been living in the shadow of grief for so long that she had forgotten how to love life again. But now, with Arthur's letters in her hands, she was ready to rediscover that love. She began to embrace the world around her with new eyes, the beauty of her garden, the laughter of her grandchildren, and the quiet moments of peace she had once taken for granted. Evelyn's journey wasn't just about remembering Arthur. It was about letting go of the grief and opening herself up to new experiences. She didn't need to forget Arthur, but she learned that in order to honor his memory, she had to live fully, without regret. As Maya Angelou once said, "We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated." Evelyn's life had been full of defeats, full of loss, but she had learned not to be defeated by it. She had learned to carry love, not as a burden, but as a source of strength. By the end of her life, Evelyn had found a way to live with joy again. She had found peace, knowing that love doesn't end when someone leaves. It stays with us forever, in the choices we make and the way we live. So, what's the lesson from Evelyn's story? It's simple but powerful. We carry the people we love with us in every step we take. It's okay to grieve, it's okay to remember, but it's also important to live fully, to embrace the joy that is still waiting for us. If Evelyn's story touched you, I want you to think about this. What can you do today to live more fully, to embrace love, joy, and the people around you? Life is short, and the time to start living fully is now. If this video moved you, please hit that like button, share it with someone who might need to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe to Speak in English for more stories that touch the heart. In the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you experienced a moment where love helped you move forward? Let's continue this conversation. Thanks for watching, and remember, love is forever.